app.
While your day is winding down, they're just getting started. This is South Coast Tonight with Chris McCarthy and Marcus Farrow. They've got you covered on all the news of the day, from local issues to politics on both sides of the aisle. This is the place where the movers and shakers come to be heard, to listen, and where they're held accountable. This is South Coast Tonight on WBSM.
Welcome to South Coast Tonight. I'm Marcus. Chris will be back tomorrow. We've got a great show ahead for you tonight. We're featuring two school committee candidates, one in Fairhaven, one in Dartmouth in the 8 o'clock hour. But we're first joined by Brian Monroe, a current school committee member and a candidate for reelection. Hey, Brian, how are you?
Good. How you doing? Thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So, just for people who may not know who you are, just, if you want to introduce yourself and tell us why you're running for re-election on the Fairhaven School Committee.
Sure. So Fairhaven's been my home for the past 24 years. I met the love of my life, Carrie, in college, and she's a lifelong Fairhaven resident. Moved here in 1999. We've had 3 children here, raised them all. They've gone through our schools. I've got one who's a sophomore at Clemson University now, and
cool.
doing Army ROTC, and then my second child, Aiden, is a senior. He's graduating this year. He's going on to the Naval Academy. And then I have a freshman in high school, Elaine. So, 3 kids. They've all got great educations here. And, I'm glad that, I've been able to be a part of that since almost since the beginning, since my oldest was in 2nd grade.
Okay.
It's been great to be involved. I mean, I've seen the district kind of take a big transition towards the better, going back, before I moved here, but back in like the late 90s, early 2000s, the high school was in danger of not getting accredited.
Yeah.
And now because of the work that's been done over the past, 10 to 20 years, we're looking to be the first district in Massachusetts to get a district level accreditation, not just the high school, but the entire district from the New England Association of Schools and Colleges. So it's a big deal. So, I mean, that's why I'm running, because, we just, as you're aware, Tara Kohler was hired as a superintendent.
Yeah.
She's been on for about 2 years now. And, Mrs. Pam Keechler decided not to run this time. She's been serving for 15 years. And, that amount of turnover on the board of directors is a lot, especially when you have a new superintendent. And,
Sure.
And so, I want to continue to serve and help her, kind of still continue, to get accustomed to the role and just continue to help the district. So that's why I'm running again.
So, Brian, how long have you been on the school? When did you get elected?
2011.
2011.
So
Wow.
this April's 12 years.
Wow. So we're speaking with Brian Monroe. He's a member of the school committee. You've often served as chair of the school committee, but my understanding is Pam the chair right now?
Yeah, so I was the chair from 2018 to 2022.
Okay.
Pam was the chair prior to me. And then Pam knew she wasn't going to run again, and she really wanted to go out as the chair. And, we talked about it. And, of course, I mean, she deserves that. It's a vote of the school committee, of course. But,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everyone on the board, respects her immensely. And, so it was an easy decision to make.
So we were talking a little bit about this off air, but the Proposition 2.5 override that's being proposed in Fairhaven. So my understanding from it mostly was for the firefighters. In fact, I have a story on WBSM.com people can check out that just came out about an hour ago on the firefighters front. But apparently there's Proposition 2.5 is also needed for the school district.
Yeah, so we've been told by the town during budget negotiations that without the override there would be a potential cut. The exact amounts of that really haven't been determined yet. I know that they're still voting on budgets now. And we typically, as a district, we don't certify our budget figure for town meeting until sometimes even the morning of town meeting. But we're definitely looking at, some sort of a cut in the, low 6-figure range. I don't know exactly what it's going to be at this point. But yeah, I know, we've already started to discuss in our meetings what that would mean for us. We just had some preliminary discussions in our last meeting. We're having our budget hearing at our next meeting, and we're going to start to talk more in detail about, what that kind of a cut is going to mean for programming. So, if it doesn't pass, we're definitely going to take a little bit of a hit.
Okay. So we're speaking with Brian Monroe, longtime school committee member. He's running for reelection this Tuesday.
Monday.
Sorry, Dartmouth's Tuesday. Good thing I know. I would have missed it. So, Brian.
All the other candidates are up on Tuesday, but I'm up on Monday.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, Brian, what other issues do you think are important right now in the school district? I mean, you're there, you're doing the work. So.
Yeah. Budget's obviously always one of the biggest issues that we have. As was brought up last night, I'm the one who actually asked for a staffing report to see what was going on in the district. I hear from parents. I've got kids in the high school. I've got kids just recently in the middle school. So I'm kind of have a good beat on what's going on in the district. So I asked Mrs. Kohler to put together the report. And it just happened to be one of those meetings where, the Standard Times jumped on it and wrote an article about it. And but actually, I think that's a good thing because we were open and honest about some of the issues that we currently face. And it is something that's faced across the nation, across Massachusetts, and across the South Coast. It makes a good campaign, soundbite to say, oh, this is a Fairhaven specific issue, or, people are leaving us at a higher rate, but that's just not true. When you look at other towns and what's going on, if you go on, there's a website called schoolspring.com, which is kind of like the Indeed for schools.
Okay.
New Bedford has over 100 positions posted. Wareham has 18. Westport has 14. We have 16 right now. Swansea has 14. Seekonk has 19.
Okay.
Yes, it's definitely a concern, but is it just a Fairhaven issue? No. And are we actively working to, I know Mrs. Kohler, is actively working every single day to fill any open positions that we have. So, and there's people that are in the hiring pipeline as we speak.
Is there anything specific that you guys think you could do to encourage more educators to want to come, or staff, just general staff to come to Fairhaven School District?
Well, I know, for example, Mrs. Kohler and Mr. Bellistracci, the assistant superintendent, have gone to fairs at like UMass Dartmouth. They're talking specifically to like chemistry majors, physics majors, people that are difficult to find in regular times, never mind in a post-COVID world where people are reevaluating, what they want to do for a living. So, and that's kind of what we're facing right now. We just went through two to three brutal years of, COVID-19 and the pandemic. And now in this post-COVID world, all anyone has to do is turn on the news and, you see how people just aren't returning to work. And that's not necessarily the case in the school district, but it's definitely, I think what's going on is a symptom of just pandemic fatigue.
Sure. There's a lot of, I think, social issues that have been happening in the public schools in New Bedford. We saw an LGBTQ protest over a city councilor. We're seeing a discussion on books, on banning books in Rochester. What's your position on whether or not certain reading material should be screened in public library or in school libraries?
Yeah, we've had this issue come up before. A few years back, a parent was concerned about a particular book, and it was called The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian. And it was at the middle school. I believe the book's an autobiography. I actually bought it and read it. It was a great book. I couldn't put it down. I read it in about a week. But it had a paragraph about masturbation. So I'll throw that word out there.
Sure.
Which is, for an eighth grader, I'm sure they all know what it is. And I'm sure, it's controversial. I don't think so. Not for eighth grade reading. But I don't believe in banning books. I think that's a slippery slope. When you start to ban books, what's offensive or appropriate for one parent is not the same as for another. What I think is great about what the middle school did do to address the concern for the one book was that they created a list of books that you could choose from, 24 books, where a parent would now have each book was assigned a rating, as whether or not it was, contained in, potentially offensive material or more adult material. So people could make a choice as to what they wanted to read. And I think that's what's really important is parental choice. So I think, parents should be informed about what's being presented to their child. But at the end of the day, I just don't think, especially at the middle school level on up, that we should be, just indiscriminately banning books. It just doesn't go anywhere good to me.
I agree, actually. So we're speaking with Brian Monroe. He's on the Fairhaven School Committee. He's running for re-election on Monday. Fortunately, have to bring this up. There was a school shooting, another school shooting that happened recently in Tennessee. We know about Uvalde. The police officers in this situation in the Tennessee school shooting played an active role to stop that. What is the Fairhaven School Department's relationship with the school resource officers, and what kind of role do they play currently in the Fairhaven School Department, and what kind of role would you like them to play?
Oh, I think we have an amazing relationship with the Fairhaven Police Department, and specifically with our school resource officers. Going back a few years, we only had one SRO in the district. And, I actually will say that I personally pushed for us to get more. And we were able to get a second one. They're primarily located at the middle and high school levels, just because the kids are older and there's, bigger issues at those levels. But, if it were up to me, we'd have an SRO at all four buildings. I think it's invaluable to have that relationship that they get to build with the kids. And I think they do it right. They're not there as just to be intimidating or anything like that. They actually build relationships with these kids. So they, when they see them in the community, they know each other. They can relate to them, and they become educators in a sense. And I think it does provide a comfort that there is someone there that's trained, and that's armed, but is trained to use, in what needs to be done in case there is a situation that occurs. And the other thing too is, we do regular training for situations like that with the staff. Okay. And the police are actively involved in that. So including our SROs. So, it's part of the professional development where, they'll come in and they'll do regular exercises with the staff in every single building. So one of the things that's a personal issue of mine, just growing up I grew up in the district. I actually went to private school for after fifth grade, but my brother went through the Fairhaven School District his entire life. He needed an IEP needed special education services, and I understand those relationships, those types of negotiations can be adversarial given the budgetary constraints. But at what level do you guys prioritize and budget for special education services on the Fairhaven Fairhaven School Board? Oh, it's very important to me. My own at times, one of my children required an IEP, at a young age. So I know exactly what goes on with that kind of negotiation. I have family members, who have children, who have IEPs, and when we talk about these things, and I know that it's not always easy. But for me, as a school committee member, it's of the utmost importance. As far as special education, what we have to provide by law, both state and federal, but it's beyond that. I mean, I think it needs to be a priority. We need to provide the least restrictive environment to all students, no matter how they learn. And I think we're certainly not perfect. I'm sure you can find examples anywhere where we've probably failed. But at the same time, I do believe from Mrs. Kohler on down that people have good hearts and are trying the best they possibly can, given the constraints that we do have, but they are trying the best they can to provide, the best, least restrictive possible environment for all kids. So, and one other thing too, beyond just regular, classroom stuff. I mean, one of the things we prioritize is unified sports. We're actually a Special Olympics champion school at the high school. Okay. So we have a unified basketball team where we have kids that are, have various special needs that are grouped with other student athletes, and they have. I went to one of the basketball games. It's one of the greatest things I've ever seen. Just very inspiring, really cool. They have a track team, and and it's also at the middle school level too. So it's been really great.
So we're speaking with Brian Monroe. He is a candidate for Fairhaven School Cmte. He's actually been on the school committee for a little over a decade now. He's running for reelection on Monday. So, wow, I completely lost my train of thought. You'll have to forgive me. Oh, yeah. So in Dartmouth, I was driving through Dartmouth the other day. I try to drive through Dartmouth as little as possible, but I was driving through Dartmouth the other day, and I saw we support Dartmouth teachers. It seems like there's some issues going on there. With the teachers unions negotiating contracts. Obviously, my co-host brought this up yesterday. The school committees are in a sort of a stronger position than other elected boards because teachers aren't allowed to strike. But we have seen teacher strikes happen pretty recently, I think in Weymouth, and now they're talking about in other districts. How's the school committee's relationship with the teachers union, and has it ever been difficult to strike a good collective bargaining agreement? We've never really gone too long without a contract in Fairhaven. I mean, we had situations, especially during COVID, where, we were negotiating, MOAs to get us through a year until we could, ratify a contract. But overall, I mean, I feel like the relationship we've had with the union leadership has been very positive, especially as of late. I mean, there's been times where it's been rocky, and that's everywhere. But, I think right now we have a very good working relationship where, we really do try to give and take, what we can. And, we just ratified a new contract last year. I think it was for as far as negotiations go, it was pretty good. I mean, it went as fast as it could go. But I think everyone, left feeling like they were able to get something. So we're speaking with Brian Monroe. He's a candidate for school committee. He's been on the school committee for a while. Do you expect to get your chairmanship back when the next after the election if you're reelected?
It's up to the other members of the committee. But if they would have me, I'd be glad to have it. I'd be glad to do it. It's an honor to be the chair. And I enjoy it. You do get a little bit more involved in things. You more daily conversations with the superintendent, and relaying different things to the rest of the committee. So, I mean, we're all still equals at the end of the day, but, the chair is it is a special role, and when I was in there, it was an honor to be there. So if they'll have me and they want that, then I'd be more than happy to take the role again. So, you were talking about Superintendent Kohler. She took over for 2 years. She's been there for 2 years after Dr. Baldwin had been there for I don't know how long. 15 years. 16
years. So quite a while. Then he went to the MIAA. So how do you rate her performance so far?
Oh, she's doing great. I mean, she's been able to hit the ground running. She was the assistant superintendent prior, working under Dr. Baldwin's tutelage. And then prior to that, she was the high school principal, here for a number of years. Okay. Just a very loved person at the high school level. And then, got to go up into the higher administrative level. And, I couldn't be happy with her. I think she's a resident of the town. So she's heavily invested in this town and making sure our schools, do well. And, she's come in at a horrendous time to start a job. Yeah, I mean, she was one of the primary people navigating us through the COVID-19 pandemic. And so for her to still even want to be a superintendent after going through that, I give her a lot of credit. So no, I'm very happy with her performance, and we just locked her up for another 6 years. So, I think she's proved herself that she can handle the role, and we're looking forward to see what she can continue to do.
So I was at the Thanksgiving game this year. I went to Stang, but I'm going to start going to the Fairhaven Dartmouth games now, just because I think they're a little bit more competitive. And I just feel like you should campaign on the fact that Fairhaven beat Dartmouth 2 years in a row.
Yeah, you're right. Our football program has definitely had a resurgence as of late. But yeah, I was very proud of that. So,
Brian, is there anything else that we didn't cover? Anything else you'd like to mention? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, look, Fairhaven's a great town. And every year, I think, the town does its best to give us, a solid budget. We're not Old Rochester. We're not Marion, Mattapoisett, and Rochester. They have far higher taxes and a lot more money than we do. Dartmouth has more money than we do. When you look at how school budgets are calculated, there's a minimum amount that towns are supposed to have to give schools by law. Fairhaven's about 5% over that minimum. Dartmouth's at 13%. ORR is at 46% over the minimum.
Wow.
So, we don't necessarily offer all of the programs that those districts have to offer. We have to make tough decisions. But what I will say this is that just look, given where our kids are headed out of this district, we offer a solid educational program given the money we do have. And we're able to do a lot with what we're given. And, I've got a kid going to the Naval Academy. It's got an 8% acceptance rate. Last year, we got a kid go to MIT. We've got kids going to Worcester Polytech, Rensselaer, Rochester Institute of Technology. I mean, great top schools. Our graduation rate's very high in the 90%, up in the upper 90s. So, I just think that we've done a good job. I mean, given what we have, and I'd like to be able to continue just doing that. I enjoy this. I enjoy serving my town. I enjoy serving the kids. I am an assistant announcer at all the home football games
Cool.
with my buddy Anthony Rameau, and I love to give back, and I just want to keep doing that. So
Great. Brian Monroe, longtime school committee member, candidate for school committee. The election is Monday. Brian, thanks so much for coming on.
thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to South Coast Tonight. I'm Marcus. Chris will be back tomorrow, but we're keeping it Fairhaven here. We're joined by Janine Loeb. She's the president of the Fairhaven Rotary Club. Hey, Janine, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Good. So before we get started, just tell us a little bit about the Rotary Club.
Okay, the Fairhaven Rotary Club is a civic organization. Our motto is service before self, and we participate in community events, and we help the community in whichever way we're needed. We also do fundraising to help us help you out in the community, but we are a worldwide organization.
So you're here because we were talking about and we were talking about this off there. You're co-sponsoring a food drive this Saturday. Can you tell us more about it?
Sure. We partnered up with the Belonging Committee of Fairhaven to do a food drive, and all of our collection will go between the Emo Life Food Pantry,
okay,
and the Shepherd's Pantry that we have in Acushnet, and we are also going to make a small donation to the Congregational Church that's next door to Town Hall here in Fairhaven. They do have an outside food pantry where people can just walk up and grab what they need, or, you can drop something off. But they do service an inside food pantry. I'm not sure of the days that they hold theirs, but we figured we'd start this food drive because everybody around the holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas, and, they're all, okay, let's feed the hungry.
Turkey dinners, all that. Right?
Absolutely. But nobody thinks about this time of year where the pantries are basically empty, and they're scrounging for food.
Yeah.
And people don't realize, there's school vacations coming up where children need to eat because they're not going to be provided inside, school hours.
Yeah.
There are a few schools in New Bedford. I believe they're charter schools, though it doesn't go through the public schools, that actually provide these children with dinners at night.
Yeah.
So, we just want to make sure everybody is fed and everybody is comfortable. Nobody should be without food, no matter how old you are. You could be 85 or 2. You don't belong having an empty belly. So,
is there any specific food items you guys are asking for?
Non-perishables. Anything. A lot of people. One thing, it's funny because we did talk about this. A lot of people will donate. Hamburger Helper or, things of that nature. But what about the oil to cook it in? Some of these box foods require oil, and nobody ever thinks about dropping off some oil or some ketchup or just the condiment kind of stuff. But anything non-perishable is accepted by us. We will take anything.
So, how do people drop the food off?
Well, we have drop-off locations now from now until Friday. We have them at Town Hall in Fairhaven, the Department of Public Works, the Visitor Center, the Fire Department.
Oh, yeah. Is that what I dropped off food for?
You must have. Where'd you drop it off?
The PPW.
There you go.
I was told to bring food there, and I did.
Yeah.
I dropped it in a box.
Well, good thing you listen to what you're told, huh?
Yeah. That makes sense. Okay, cool.
We have them at the rec center, the school department building, community nurse, their home care centers on Center Street and State Road in Dartmouth. We actually have one at the hair cutters. Scotty Blanchett has been great. And we have one at MO Life on, here in Fairhaven.
Sure.
South Coast Pickleball, and we also have one at the YMCA. So
wow.
Anybody can drop one, something off until Friday. We'll pick up those boxes on Friday, and on Saturday we'll be at Town Hall from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's going to rain. They say we have a 90% chance of rain, but we will be inside if it does rain, outside if it doesn't rain, and the show must go on.
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
Rain or shine.
Absolutely. So you'll be there from 9 to 1. People can drop off those food. You're looking for non-perishables. And right now, if people want to do it ahead of time, there are... seems like drop-offs at virtually every public building in the town.
Yep. Or you can look on the Rotary Fairhaven Facebook page, and you can find the flyer there of where things can be dropped off. But I also want to mention that we are going to have plenty of resources for everybody there.
Okay.
No matter how young or how old you are, we will have resources there for you. We will have, let me see, Martha Reed from the Council on Aging to help people sign up for SNAP benefits, because a lot of people here in Fairhaven don't, or anywhere, if you're coming from New Bedford, she'll help you too. A lot of people don't realize what they qualify for.
Right.
They think, well, I get a monthly income. I don't, I might make too much. I'm not even going to attempt it. But, it's worth a shot. Are you going to, you're either going to get it or you're going to, they're going to say no. It's as simple as that. But it's worth the shot of trying to get it. That way, a lot of seniors in town, they don't believe that they qualify because they don't have children at home. And everybody looks at the SNAP program like it's if you have children, that's the only way you can get it. And that's
untrue. Yeah.
So untrue.
Yeah.
And Martha Reed will be there to sign up, people for benefits to see if they qualify and things like that. And they'll have plenty of resources. We're going to have resource information and contact information for the Family Resource Center from the Fairhaven Public Schools. We're going to have the Veterans Agent Brad Fish there with some of his resources, and he'll be able to answer any questions.
Okay.
We're going to have information from PACE, Commonwealth Care Alliance, and brochures from the United Way. So we're going to have plenty of things.
The more you talk, the bigger this event gets.
Absolutely. It's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. So I'm hoping, and a lot of people, I don't want people to think that it's just Fairhaven. Anybody can do it, because the food pantries that we are providing are food pantries for greater New Bedford, which includes Fairhaven, Acushnet, Dartmouth. It's, a lot of people think if you say greater New Bedford, it's not that. It's, they have to think greater outside the box, outside of New Bedford. So they're entitled to go to these food pantries too.
Yeah, absolutely. So anybody that's in the area, feel free to drop off a food item or food items at any of those drop locations, or at Fairhaven Town Hall on Saturday from 9 to 1. Seems like there's a lot for people to access there in terms of resources. And is there anything else that we didn't mention?
We have to mention Blue. The
What?
Canine Blue. He is going to make an appearance there on Saturday
Cool.
for us.
Very cool.
And we're hoping that we can get, some officials there. I believe Representative Strauss is going to make an appearance.
Okay, cool.
The select board, I believe they will be there. And if anybody wants to help us, during the day, donate your time, your muscles, we'll take anything we can get.
Great. Janine Lopes, the Rotary Club president, we appreciate it. That's Saturday, 9 to 1, Fairhaven at Fairhaven Town Hall. But where can people go to learn more about this? Again, the Facebook page?
Yes, they can go to Rotary Fairhaven. If they scroll down the page, they'll see our our food drive advertisement, and all the information will be there for them.
Great. Thanks so much, Janine.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Download the WBSM app and listen to us everywhere.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org.
Meals from those years are hard to forget. It was all white bread and whole milk, hamburger casseroles and quiche Lorraines, all with a side of cigarettes. We ate salads as desserts. We knew a party was classy if it had a cheese log, and we never missed an after-dinner smoke. It didn't matter if we were in our dining rooms, a burger joint, or the ritziest of restaurants. There'd be an ashtray on every table, and that very particular flavor in every meal. We smoked for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's amazing that our food could taste like anything else. If that was you then, get your lungs screened now. Surviving lung cancer starts with a scan. Learn more at screenyourlungs.org. This PSA was made possible by industry funding and guidance from lung cancer patient groups.
Take South Coast Tonight with you wherever you go. Stream Chris and Marcus on the WBSM app or get their podcast on the app at WBSM.com. Now, back to South Coast Tonight.
Welcome back to South Coast Tonight. I'm Marcus. 508-996-0500 is how you can get on the program this evening. That was school committee member and candidate for re-election, Brian Monroe, and Janine Lopes, who's the president of the Rotary Club here in Fairhaven. So that food drive, you'll definitely want to check that out. That is Saturday, 9 to 1 at Town Hall, and you can drop off at those other various locations. Go to Rotary Club Fairhaven to find out more. You can find out more there. So I appreciate them both coming in. So there's the city council meeting and appointments and briefings about the media. I don't know. My understanding is it was just a brief discussion about how to expand coverage, maybe. We'll find out more. Tim was there, so he'll probably be able to tell you more. But 508-996-0500. Good evening.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Carlos, were you at the meeting?
Yeah, I just left, and it's, about 40 minutes I'll never get back in my life, and I regret showing up, believe it or not. And I normally like coming, but what a complete waste of time. And this was a special meeting that Miss Carney had to place on the agenda, and it was, I really don't know the point of it. I didn't get anything out of it. I mean, Michael Rock made some good points, and one of them was, that the city councilors have the opportunity. They can, call into the show. They can, write a press release. They can call for a press conference. I mean, there's different ways and different avenues that the city council can bring attention to things. And I'm kind of phrasing that my own way, but I just at least he didn't sit there and attack the media. That was a good thing, but I just don't understand the point of this whole meeting. I really don't. It was like I just felt like I wasted my time here today. Totally waste of time.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what to expect, but it sounds like he was just asking about how to expand the media coverage. But it looks like ABC6 was there, WPRI was there as well. That's what I'm hearing.
But what did this whole thing come from? It came from people being critical of him, and he doesn't like it. So he wants more positive coverage in New Bedford. That's what Morad brought up, more positive coverage. And
well, if Linda Morad wants more positive coverage, she should do a better job. She should be better at her job.
Right. Anything to bring attention away from themselves. Poor me, we're not getting enough coverage. You're a city councilor. City councilors have been elected many times. You know the way things work. If you really want to get your voice heard and your point across, there's many ways to do that. You don't need to hold a special meeting. And only a few people, showed up. And I chose not to speak because I felt it was just a whole waste of time. And that's pretty much what I have on that. I mean, I really have nothing to say about it. I'm trying to be positive here today,
Well, I appreciate you giving me the update, Carlos. Thank you.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye. So, here's the thing. Like, there is obviously I think, first of all, I think we do a good job of covering stuff, but local media in general, outside of WBSM, local media in general has definitely, its influence has definitely been winnowed down quite a bit. So I understand the frustration at that point. But, here's my thing. Any city councilor that asks to come on this program is I always let any elected official that wants to come on the program, I'm happy to have on. And when they do ask, I have them on. I've got 15 hours of airtime, so it's plenty of time to come on here or any of the other shows. And I think many of the councilors do take advantage of that opportunity. I'm not saying none of them do. Some of them don't, though. Some of them definitely don't. Some of them have more opportunity to come on and they don't take it. So, to the point of the press release too, Councilor Burgo put out, it was a letter to the mayor, but it was an open letter. So it's essentially a press release. And that made news. That was an article. He was on air. That was discussion, right? So when you're in a position of power, when you're an elected official, the things that you say and the things that you say publicly are inherently news. So press releases are, I think, a good way if people want to cover the more positive stuff, like, oh, hey, look what we did. Cool, issue a press release. Well, I mean, we have we have people at the council meeting now covering it, but I think that's, I think if there's something else that's not being covered that you don't think isn't covered, and you want to tell us about it, that's fine. I mean, there's time reserved for city councilors every week on the show. There's time reserved for the mayor every week on the show, every week on the station, and more if they ask for it. So, but I get it. There's some other outlets that maybe are a little bit less active on the municipal politics front than we are, I think. So I understand the point of frustration, but I think there's certainly a lot more avenues for the council and really any elected official to take to alert us to something and have us cover it. Like I said, I'm pretty open to any elected official that wants to talk about stuff here on this program for sure. So 508-996-0500 is how you can get in the program. We'll also take your app chat messages on the WBSM app. This is South Coast Tonight. at 8 o'clock, we're going to have Kathleen Amaral from the Dartmouth School Committee. So she's running for re-election too. So we've been covering these school committee races lately. They're getting pretty interesting here. They're the most hotly contested races, and I think both Fairhaven and Dartmouth, because in both those towns too, both Fairhaven and Dartmouth, there isn't even contested select board elections, right? There isn't even a contested select board election. So it's definitely something that people are keeping an eye on, that you're going to want to keep an eye on as well. So 508-996-0500. I'm going to take a quick break before we finish out the hour strong here on South Coast Tonight. Welcome back. So the city council meeting on appointments and briefings where I guess members of the media went to talk to the city council, that just ended. You've heard from Carlos Felix, who called in. I'm going to hear from Tim. He's going to give me a buzz off the air, so we're going to just talk about it. But my understanding is, it was a relatively uneventful in the way that we expect city council meetings to go. This didn't go that way, so which is a good thing, honestly. But we're going to be joined by Kathleen Amaral at 8 o'clock to talk about her running for re-election on the Dartmouth School Committee. We've been featuring the school committee races in Dartmouth and Fairhaven. We'll feature the ones in New Bedford when they come up this year as well. It's really important who your school committee member is, and we feel like a lot of people are paying attention to these races, maybe some for better reasons than others. And we're going to talk with Kathleen more. I'm interested to hear what she has to say about her platform and her experience in the school committee. So I'm going to catch you guys on the other side of the 8 o'clock hour. Enjoy our news break. And during the news break, I'll be uploading the podcast of the first hour with school committee member Brian Monroe, who's running for re-election in Fairhaven. So if you want to check that out, you can. Our podcasts are doing really well, but they can always do better. And you can